What is up, you guys? Today we have a very special guest. It is MyCollectables. He's one of my favorite VeVe content creators, and he's also a physical collector with a lot of experience and knowledge in the space. In this interview, we'll be talking about the reasons why other physical collectors have yet to try out VeVe, his biggest mistakes and lessons learned throughout his VeVe journey, favorite collectibles and comics that he's been stacking, what will he buy with a $3,000 budget, and some very exciting investment opportunities within the VeVeVerse. Let's get to it. MyCollectables, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for what you do for the community, and I really appreciate you spending time, so that I can learn from you, so that the viewers can learn more from you today.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. I appreciate you inviting me on. Been watching your channel for a while, for sure. All your awesome interviews. So I'm just happy to be one of them.
Yeah. So let's get started with you. I would love to know more about you and how you started your VeVe journey from the very beginning.
Yeah, for sure. So I started in October of 2021. I think my birth date was the 17th. And that was when I first, got my account and everything. And my friend actually, that I work with in graphic design, that's my job on the side, like it's my actual job. One of my good friends I work with, he actually asked me if I heard about the comics on VeVe. And I didn't even know what VeVe was because at that time I was starting to look at crypto and I was starting to look at other things. And I was doing NBA Top Shot, with my Lakers, right? And so that was my first sort of like NFT sort of experience was that summer doing NBA Top Shot. And so then he asked me if I knew about the comics because, it was a month or so before that they actually came to VeVe. And I had no idea. I didn't even know what VeVe was or anything. So he just, sent me a little link. And so yeah, I looked at it, downloaded it, and then just looked at it for a day or two. It was like kind of trying to figure out what this all like the whole point of it was. And then my first comic was the Ben Reilly Spider-Man
Mm.
comic, Web of Spider-Man. And I actually, that drop was coming. I went for the drop. I actually landed one, right? And
Oh,
I was like,
nice.
oh, cool. Okay. I just got a common. But I kind of like, once I landed one there, that was a few days later. I think it was like 4 or 5 days later. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I started to kind of get the feeling of, okay, this is interesting. I kind of get it. I could read it, the comic. And so because I'm a comic collector in the real world, it was kind of like, what can I do with these things? Right. But once I got one, I was able to read it. And then I started looking at the Spider-Mans and stuff like that, like the Amazing Spider-Man 1. And I kind of started to figure it out and get it. And at the same time, I was looking at crypto, like I was all over YouTube watching like, just learning, right, about like Bitcoin and all that stuff and, Ethereum and like all these, watching all these channels. And then the digital collectible thing was like, I love collecting. So it started to make a little bit more sense, right? So like towards the end of October, that's when I really started to like really kind of get into it. It took me about a week and a bit to really kind of wrap my head around it when I downloaded the app. I downloaded it, looked around a bit, didn't do anything for the first day or two, just looked around a bit, didn't buy anything, didn't load any money in or buy any gems. I was just sort of like, but when I went for that first drop and I got it, that kind of like, that sort of helped me figure it out, it kind of got me in. Right. And then
Mhm.
after that, I mean, the gold moments came and we were on, right? The whole thing was
Perfect
going
timing
by
right
then.
there.
Yeah, exactly. So it was easy after that.
Yeah. So I know that you are a physical collector. Was there a lot of friction for you to shift from collecting physical to digital slash NFTs?
Yeah, the only thing was the learning curve about it.
Mm.
Like that's the only barrier was just the learning curve. But there's, with physical collecting too, there's a learning curve, like, in regards to what you go after. Like if you're buying on eBay, or if you're going to, comic shops, or if you're going to like, conventions, there's always a bit of a learning curve about what to look for and what to go after in the physical world. But in the digital space, specifically with crypto, like at that time, VeVe was super easy, right? So what
Mhm.
I was finding was I was trying to learn how to like, buy cryptocurrency. And I'm up in Canada here, right? So it's a bit different, how I could get my money into my like an exchange and how I could actually like buy crypto and get a MetaMask wallet and all that stuff. And then go on the open sea and I started looking at that stuff. But that was all very complicated. And I had to like self-teach myself with a lot of YouTube channel watching and all that because I didn't have anybody else aside from my friend who was giving me tips and pointers. But VeVe, I just downloaded the app. Like I just downloaded it. Like that was
Yeah.
it, and I just used my credit card to buy gems. And so then once I found out that they were NFTs, right? I didn't even understand necessarily the back end at that point. All like, what an NFT, like what it really means, like the difference between OpenSea and VeVe at that moment. So that was okay because it actually made me not worry about, getting
Mm.
VeVe stuff. I wasn't like concerned, like, well, this is an NFT or not. I was coming from a kind of a noob background, like a collector background coming in. I wasn't a crypto person coming into VeVe, which is different because those people, they know like what a Bored Ape is and how that works and how it's like supposed to look. But in the early days of VeVe, we didn't have any of that info, right? So you
Yeah.
kind of had like, so for me, it was easier to get into VeVe that way because I wasn't all bogged down with all this knowledge. Now I've gained that knowledge over the course of the whole year and a half or so that I've been in now. I've gained it. I know what, big time what NFTs are, how it works and the whole thing. I learned that pretty quickly in November, December of last year. But in that early days, it didn't affect me. So it actually benefited me that VeVe was easy to download. There was no barrier for me at all, aside from just money, really.
Yeah.
How much money did I want to spend, right?
Yeah, I think the team has done a really good job making the onboarding process extremely easy, and that's why they were able to onboard users like us, right, who did not start off with crypto or
Yeah.
anything like that. And like one thing that I realized last year was like a lot of people were saying, "Oh, why don't we do any marketing, or like why don't we see any advertisings on TV or social or anything like that?" And I guess my answer to that is they spend 30% of the revenue on the marketing because like putting the app on the app store and paying Apple 30% of every single dollar that you get,
Yeah.
that is a huge amount of money, and that's their marketing, right? And a lot of time, like the stuff that we don't get to see is actually what makes the app work really well.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, yeah. So it seems like you had some help from your friend who introduced you to VeVe, but
Yeah.
your other friends who are physical collectors, do you think that VeVe has done enough to make it easy for them to onboard, or do you think and they just haven't opened their mind up, or do you think that there is more that VeVe can do to reach that target customers?
Yeah, for sure. No, it's a great question. I don't think that VeVe is really gone after people like me that much,
Mm,
like with marketing and stuff, like you said. I think what VeVe's been doing is, just building what they're building, before they're starting to do all their big push to get actually users in here. Because, I didn't even hear about VeVe. I only heard about it from a friend who's in crypto because of NFTs, and he was looking at that, and he knew I liked comics, and I guess he had seen the comic drop in August, right? The Marvel Comic One drop and of in 2021 for VeVe. He kind of heard about it somehow, but he wasn't like he's not a physical collector. That guy, like he is not like buying figurines and comics and like vintage toys like me. He was just really getting into crypto itself. So he found out about VeVe that way, right? Which is surprising because like with all the comics and the collectibles that they had on there, you'd think that someone like me would have stumbled across it like maybe just watching YouTube or online, but no. So I don't feel like VeVe has really pushed in that area, to kind of go after like physical collectors, or and try to get them on the app yet. And I say that as with a yet, right? And I
yeah,
think the reason is because they're just building what they want to build before. Because, for me, like when I came into the app, owning the comic book was enough. Reading the comic book in VeVe is enough. But for a lot of people, they don't see the point. Like if they're a physical collector
mm,
like me, they don't understand yet the why digital is like okay to collect as well. They're stuck on physical. And they know that world. And a lot of the people who are in my category are of a certain age level. Like I'm in my 40s. So it's hard for some people to kind of transition over into technology. And so
right,
there's kind of that bit of a barrier too. But the good news is that because everything is moving that way in the world, like the world's moving that way, we got our devices. It's going to be easier as time goes on. And with VeVe, I think what they're planning is they're just building out what they want in the back end, like with the VeVeVerse and all sorts of other things. And then, with Marvel now at the booth, they're at the booths, right? At the Comic
yeah,
Cons, they're starting to kind of step out and people are going to start seeing them more. And so I'm just happy to be here like before everybody else, right? Just kind of I kind of luckily got here before other people just because of my friend of mine. Otherwise, I probably would have never heard of VeVe. I'd probably be stuck on my eBay, and at my conventions and selling my toys and vintage stuff and all that stuff. So it's kind of like, I always say when, like yet, they haven't really promoted yet, but they're starting these
Yeah.
conventions. You see them sitting at the Marvel booth like that. That is massive. I don't think a lot of people, I know a lot of people do recognize that, but I think people don't really understand like how big that is to be at that booth the way that VeVe has been, those two conventions, New York City and San Diego, like they are front and center at Marvel's booth. And that's the number one booth pretty much in that whole convention. And those are the two biggest ones in the world. So it's pretty interesting, right? Like, I don't know how it's going to go, like if they're going to keep sharing the booth with them, but it's a good start. So
Yeah.
they could do more for people like me to get us in. And when I talk to my friends, that collect toys and stuff like that. I'm still like probing them about it, like letting them know about it. I haven't had a lot of people come in yet. I mean, most of the people that I know that collect toys and all that kind of stuff and vintage comics and vintage toys, like the real collector types, they haven't come into the digital space yet, which is really interesting to me. And I'm kind of saying, guys, this is an area you're going to want to look at for sure, right? So, we'll get there.
Yeah. So what are some rejections that you have received? Is that is it, oh, crypto is not a real thing, and NFT is not real, or is it
Yeah.
more like I'm just gonna wait until more people adopt it? That's when I see that it's something that is demanded by everybody else. Then I'm gonna hop on the train. Is it sort of like an educational problem, or is it more of like an adoption problem, if you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. No, from my experience, it's actually just more of an indifference, not really
Mm,
caring,
right.
because like they're so like people know what they know. And of the age group that I'm talking about here, the peer group that I'm in, they don't really care that much about digital like NFTs or collecting the comics yet or anything on VeVe or any other platform at this moment. They're seeing it though. Like
Hmm.
I know that they're starting to see it. Okay. The comic book shops that I go to, they're aware of what's going on. They're just not really going there yet. But that's okay. Like it's fine. It doesn't matter to me about my age group whether they adopt digital collecting or not. It's the younger generation like my kids, are teenagers, and the way that they experience all this stuff, movies and pop culture and everything, is all through their devices, right? They do go and they collect toy like just with my family in general. They collect figurines on the wall and put them up and all that stuff, and stuff like that. But really, they're consuming all of this stuff on their devices. And these are the teenagers of today. So VeVe's building it for those people. Like this is what this
Mm,
space is for. The older people, like in my generation, if they don't come along, it's okay, right? If they will, it's never gonna, physical stuff is never gonna die out. It's always gonna be there, like the physical comics and the toys and like the comic books, at the comic book shop, the newer ones that are getting printed all the time, that's gonna start transitioning more into digital for sure. It just makes more sense for the comic book companies, they lose too much money on a book if they print it and it doesn't sell out. So like, that's going to start changing more and more as we go. But I think VeVe's building more for, the younger generation, the people who are growing up in this digital age that are just, they know this is all they know. Looking at stuff on their devices and interacting with it that way. And now with the augmented reality, that even, Pokemon was doing it a few years ago, right, with their game. And so like people are growing up literally in
mm,
this environment where I grew up in a completely different environment with none of this. So I had to adopt it. But the people who are growing up now, who are teenagers now and in their early 20s and stuff, they literally grew up with this. So it's not like something they have to adopt. And I think that's what people have to understand who are, if you're in the collectibles world and you want to, the people who are like me, who are older, like, the whole generation that's coming after them is just growing up in this and it's normal, and VeVe's just building a platform and other companies are building platforms right now in the space specifically for that group and that demographic. So, it's just a changing tide, right? And I jumped on board and I'm having a lot of fun with both. Like I still have my physical stuff, but I'm having fun with both. And I can see where this is going because it's just the way it is. My background for work is graphic design, like I said. So I'm always
Mhm.
on my computer and I went to school for that. And I've been doing that for like 20 something years. So I might be a little bit more technically savvy than a lot of people in my age range because I've always been on the computer. I've always been like working with programs and designing websites and all sorts of stuff. So I'm kind of probably more that in that range than a lot of people who are in my age group who, you know, still might have a bit of a problem with like computers and stuff and like,
Yeah.
like really, you know what I mean, right? And don't get into
Yeah, yeah.
coding or don't do any of that. It might be a bit of a barrier for them, but for me, it hasn't been. So, but it's really the youth,
Yeah.
it's really the youth.
I love the graphics that you share on Twitter, especially like the one that impressed me the most. It would be you have this photo and then like there's a comic book in the middle and then behind it there's like spotlights or like lights shining to behind it. Yeah, I love that. And I
Yeah,
think that
pretty fun.
VeVe is in the perfect storm to grow. The first thing is like the generation, like the younger generation want things to be digital. Like they trust buying digital items, right?
Yeah,
And I remember David mentioned at one point that during COVID, because a lot of the Marvel physical comic books are printed in the US, during COVID, they had supply chain issues. So they
yeah,
couldn't ship the comics to Singapore or Japan or other Asian countries or even Europe, most of the Asian countries,
yeah,
because like supply chain issues and all that. So Marvel pushed them, VeVe, to release the digital comic books early, and that got
yeah.
adopted really well. So,
Nice.
so there's all these factors that contributed to it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for
so
sure. COVID was a definitely a push
yeah,
in all sorts of interesting areas, like a bit of a world shift, right? And physical collectibles went sky high during COVID too, because people
right.
were, like especially like trading cards and stuff, because people were bored and they had some money from the government and they were stuck at home. Right? It's a perfect
Yeah,
storm, right?
yeah. So I noticed that you have a Lakers hat and you wear it
Yeah.
in pretty much all of your videos.
Oh,
Next
yeah.
year, sports will be one of the verticals that VeVe will be focusing a lot of their time and effort on besides music. As a sport fan, what are your expectations and what can VeVe do to make you happy?
Yeah, so for me, I would love to see team stuff, like licensed team stuff
Mhm.
that comes, like Lakers stuff, for example, or other sports. I don't know if they'll be able to do that because they have to hook up with the NBA and the whole thing and other, professional franchises. So I don't know what to expect. What I'm thinking is probably like individual athletes with no brand name to them, like with no like Lakers attached to them,
Right.
maybe just a player or two or those kind of things. I don't know. It may not be the standard, North American, big four, right? The NBA, the Major League Baseball, the football, and hockey comes in there too. It might be more worldly stuff. It might be more, like football, like soccer. It could be that kind of thing. Or, so I really don't know what to expect with the sports, but I'm hoping that we get some real branded like some actual team stuff because for me I love like individual players but they come and go. It's really the franchises that I think a lot of people would appreciate maybe merch from that. Like if you can get like in VeVe, for example, like if it's NBA and you can get like
Yeah.
a Laker logo or you can get like some sort of something like that helps you interact with the Laker brand more or a team brand more, that would be amazing. And if the VeVeVerse develops and if they actually have branded areas like say a
Mm.
Laker shop, or
Right.
say like, you're in Boston, right? So maybe they have like a New England Patriots area, like who
Yeah.
knows, right? Like this could really open up massive floodgates for sports fans, in my opinion. So I don't really know what they're gonna do. I'm hoping, like I said, for like licensed, like products as opposed to just individual athletes that they sign or whatever, like Tom Brady puts out NFTs, but it has nothing to do with the NFL or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to see that logo, but I don't know, right? I don't know. I don't know. Well, I'm hoping.
So like if VeVe were to come out with a like LeBron James NFT, but
Yeah.
he doesn't have that classic Laker jersey or logo, would you be interested in, or like would you think sports fan, like would they be interested in buying that NFT, or they would
Yeah.
prefer to focus less on the players but more on the teams because of the legacy and the history and all that?
Yeah, I think people would still be really interested in that for sure, like depending on the level of the athlete, like the big name. But I think if you attach the team to it, it just takes it to another level. It makes it like really legit. It's like whenever you see like these, promotions by players and they show like a jersey they're wearing, but there's no name on it. It's just a
Yeah,
number. It's kind of
yeah.
lame, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
regards to collecting. So just that's just the way I feel about it because I used to collect sports cards hugely and actually Sports Illustrated magazines. I used to collect those a big time and sports figurines, and I still have a bunch. Right? I have my Jordan up here in the corner, right? My whole little Jordan shelf, which is
Mm,
pretty cool. And so but it has the team, right? It has the Bulls. So that's important for me as a collector. Just me
yeah,
though. Yeah.
right.
I'd still go for if they put out like a Steph Curry, or whatever, or like I would still go for it. I would think it would be really cool, depending on how they did it. If they did it like, okay, so if they did it like kind of like without the team logos, but they made them more personable. I don't want to see LeBron in a blank jersey, you know,
Right.
like just pretending like a basket. Like I don't want to see him in that. But if he came out as like maybe Space Jam LeBron. That would be
Mm,
cool because it's cooked up to the movie, like that kind of
right.
thing, right? Or if you came out with like maybe a series of athletes where they're not necessarily like, in their fake jerseys. Maybe they're just, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I can't I don't know. I don't know. I'll wait and find out. But if it's sports come, I will be excited regardless though.
Yeah. So you started with VeVe October 2021. So you've been
Yeah,
with VeVe for over a year now.
yeah.
And I love your content on, different ways to think about investing in certain comic books or collectibles. What have been some of your most memorable mistakes? Because, we all make mistakes and learn from them in our VV
Sure.
journey, right? I would
Yeah.
love for you to, tell some stories about some mistakes you have made, maybe two or three of them, and what have you learned from those mistakes?
Yeah, so I don't have like any like big mistakes that I feel like I've made because and only because, I've been adjusting as I go.
Hmm.
My only mistake, or I don't know, it's not really a regret, but when I was early on like a year ago, like November, December, January, February, I didn't really have a focus you
Mm.
know that was the thing that I didn't. So that, I don't know if that's a mistake, is more me learning the app and learning what I wanted to collect. I didn't have like a specific focus, like, so then after that I started to really sit down and look at what I wanted to actually do in this app. But in the first like 4 or 5 months, I was just sort of buying what would come and like trying things out and buying and selling. And at that particular time, like the market was pretty booming, so it wasn't like you could make a ton of mistakes, as long as you like, I didn't hold on to a secret rare Spider-Man, when he was 100,000, because I never had one to begin with. I couldn't get one, so they were already gone when I joined. So the opportunity to make mistakes wasn't necessarily there for me, like big time, right? So all my stuff, what I've done is I've tried to have a focus, and I felt pretty comfortable about what I'm doing at the time. And then I felt actually very comfortable shifting, right? So early on when I was in the app, like I said, I was just sort of like going after drops that I thought were cool, that other people thought were cool and could go up in value. And I wasn't landing much of anything because of, bots and
Hmm.
the activity and stuff. So it wasn't like I, was landing big items. And so I just kind of had to like work within my means and buy certain things. And I probably, you know, maybe I looked at buying the partner statue on day 1 or 2, right after it dropped at like 2 and 3 thousand gems at that time. And I didn't. I just, because it was a bit too much money for me in the early days. I was a bit unsure about the app. And so, I didn't. So maybe that would be my one, like, mistake, because if I bought a partner's then and it went up to like, 50, 60, whatever that, I would have still held it though. I know me, I'd still be holding it to this day. So it's not like it really matters. I could just buy it for that same price right now. You know what I mean? So I would have held it. I just know me. I wouldn't have sold it because I would have felt like it was going to go higher and higher and higher. And that probably would have been a mistake, right? But a lot of people made that. So, but after I like, got to around, April or so, I started to really look at like, like March, April. I started to look at, okay, what am I doing in this app? I'm making vids and people were watching them. I was giving my opinions and it was cool, but I really wanted to have a focus. So I started to focus on the secret rare comics.
Mm,
One of the catalysts behind that was because I was watching Sleep in Comics and I know he had a bunch, and I just started to recognize the scarcity of them. And I was collecting like commons and stuff because I like the covers and uncommons, right? But I started to really focus on the secret rare. So I transitioned in April, I transitioned my whole collection and sold a lot of stuff then that I had slowly been like, building and creating, holding on to, like Wonder Woman's. And I had like 3 Supermans at the time. And I had like a few other stuff, bunch of other stuff. And then I transitioned into secret rare comics. And over the next like, 3 or 4 months, that's all I did with commons. I started to really focus on the comics. My collectibles went all the way down to like five. Like I kept, I bought a Todd during that time. I have my R2 and my C3PO. I kept them. I had my Boba Fett's. I kept saying because I like them.
yeah.
I kept those, but I didn't have any of the really big stuff because I came just after that stuff, so I couldn't get any of the, the secret rare Spider-Mans and things like that. And I had some golden moments during that time too, but I ended up slowly selling them to go after those secret rare comics, and I built up like almost 40 of those secret rare comics. I was
Wow.
getting good ones, right? Like decent ones, not all the low levels, like all the mid-level ones. I had a really great collection going. I was really comfortable with that. And I would have continued to do that all the way to today. But then Amazing Fantasy came.
Yeah.
And as soon as Amazing Fantasy came, it changed my strategy because that comic is just so powerful. I was like, okay, I had to sit there in early August and think and go, okay, do I keep going after all the secret rares? Because that's a good strategy. Like I still think that's great, and stacking all my Silver Age comic books because I've done lots of that. Or do I just really focus my resources on that comic to get a nice stack going? And so I made that choice in August or so. I transitioned. So, and now I have like 23 of them, like editions of it, right? So I'm still trying to build, but my secret rares have come all the way down. I just basically traded them over, and I
Mm,
took some losses in there. Like I did, I took some losses, but I've gained with Amazing Fantasy, right? So I don't know about like big mistakes. It's really just like transitioning and like and learning and moving. But I think my biggest thing is having a focus, right? Or having a plan. And and then if the plan goes sideways because of the market or whatever, then you're allowed to change your plan, right? It's okay. So I've tried to message that out to anyone who watches my videos. Just like make sure you have a plan and like try to like implement that plan, right? And you can stick with it. But if it goes sideways, you're allowed to change. It's okay. We don't have to hold on for dear life for the rest of our life and lose tons of money. You could just transition. So that would be my thing. It's not having a plan in the early days. I think that's probably my biggest mistake. It's a long-winded answer.
yeah, no, I love it. Sometimes it's not the mistakes. Sometimes it's the events that force us to rethink and change our strategy. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Totally.
Um, so let's just say that you have $3,000 today and you have to spend it in the VeVe OMI ecosystem. So you can
Yes.
spend it on some VeVe collectibles or comics and some OMIs are not, how would you allocate it? How would you allocate that money? $3,000 you can spend on anything.
Yeah, for sure. In the VV app. Well, I
Or
would
or
actually
VeVe NFTs or OMI or both, whatever.
or Omi, yeah. Yeah. Well, I own Omi, right? I don't own like millions and millions and millions of Omi. And I give away Omi on my channel to my NFT holders just to get them in it. And so I'd probably take 500 bucks of that and buy some more Omi just for that purpose alone to keep that because I have a certain amount stashed aside for giveaway, but I'm not ready to buy Omi full on yet. I know it's down
Mm,
lower, and I'm not like playing the market and waiting for it to crash even further. I'm just not ready to put a lot of money in there yet because I see the opportunity for me personally is more in in the collectible side of thing and the comic side of thing, especially with the VeVeVerse coming. The OUP program is to me a little bit off. It's not quite here yet, so I still feel like I have time to acquire the OMI to get up those tiers, right? I want to get to like level 2 at least. So I'm trying, so I feel like I have time for that. So if I had 3,000 right now, I would probably buy about $500 worth of OMI just to kind of like push it back up a bit because I'm starting to get, with the amount that I have for my project, it's under 500,000 now. So I like to have it over that level. So then I'd take the other 2,500 and honestly, I would just buy Amazing Fantasies. I know I'm not trying to tell anybody to do that either. I'm seriously not. Like, it's just that the price point of a couple of them right now to me is just too attractive compared to anything else. And, the VeVe logo is another one that you could get around that 33,400 level or so. That would be a really crucial one for people to get to. But I've got one now, so I'm okay with that. I don't have the partners. I'd really love to get a partner, so it's right at that $3,000 as well. I suppose if someone gifted me 3,000 gems and it was like not my own hard-earned gems, maybe I would just go snag that partners and
Right.
just hold on to that because I've always wanted one, never had one. Think big things are coming for it. But I have no problem buying more Amazing Fantasy comics, specifically the uncommons. I would actually go to the ultra rare, I think, and
You
because I
said
don't have,
the uncommon variant.
yeah, that's the one I have the most stack of because of the
Why is
price.
that?
Well, it has the original cover. I know it's the black and white, but it's got the original cover and the edition sizes are only like 2,000 and the price
Oh,
point is fantastic. So I like that one for future gains. Just me personally. Who knows what happens? It could go lower. I don't know. But that's the one that I like to stack. I have 5 of the commons as well. I have one rare, so I don't have the ultra rare. So I probably, with that 2,500, I'd probably buy at least one ultra rare. And then I'd probably buy a few more, of the uncommons to get me to 20 because I have 17 of them. Get me to 20, a nice round number. And then I would probably, actually, I'm trying to think of the VeVeVerse that's coming and what I want there. So if that would be about 1,600 gems minus 2,500. So that leaves you about 900 gems. I'd probably take that 900 remaining gems and I would probably focus on, probably some VeVeVerse stuff. I bought a DeLorean the other day, just to drive it around.
yeah.
Probably get all the vehicles, just one of each. Like they're super attainable. I mean, I bought the 1/6 scale DeLorean. I mean, it's like 13, 14 gems. There's 50,000 of them, but I bought one of those. I would probably buy the Ecto one. It's about 15 gems as well. There's only 1,000 of those, the interactive one of them. You can drive that around. I probably get the flying DeLorean. I would probably get, the kit car. Like just get those vehicles and just so I can drive around. I don't know. And then maybe some other stuff, maybe some more Batman stuff that I would put up there. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough for me to go away from that comic book though, just being honest. But that's just me, right? That's
Yeah,
just me.
yeah. So,
It's a fun question. It is a fun thing to think about. It's like, what would you do if you won the lottery, right? And you like start thinking about all these stuff you'd buy and what you do,
free
put
money,
away.
right?
I know. The
Yeah.
the OMI's interesting though. If you bought $3,000 worth of OMI, that in this right now at the price point that it's at, what is it at? Is it at 7?
So I think you basically get
Yeah,
maybe like 3 million ohms. I think ohms is like zero
yeah,
point zero 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 0.0001 or something like that. So you probably get 3 million with $3,000.
yeah. That's pretty good too. That's
Yeah, it's
tempting
really good.
specifically now. I mean, I would assume that at some point that's a great play. you know. But yeah, I'm
Yeah,
still doing the collectibles.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I must have clicked just join without the video.
Oh
That's
no, no, no worries. So my next
fun,
question
man.
is,
This is fun, hey?
yeah, I've been really enjoying it so far, especially
Yeah,
talking to somebody who has a lot of knowledge in the physical space, and then now you're really into VeVe as well. So it's been awesome. I've been learning a lot, and I would love to. So recently, I saw one of the videos. You are very excited about the branded cities in the VeVeVerse.
yeah,
Um, so yesterday, I had this thought of how I would like play my game in the VeVeVerse. I would love to run it through you if you don't mind.
sure, yeah,
Yeah. So I would love to I know like the Viva is like 2 years away, but I would love to stack my OMI now, and then when it appreciate, maybe 2 to 3 years from now, and when a VeVeVerse is fully functional or operational, I would love to build, because Ree mentioned how we can, build our experiences. I would
Yeah,
love to hire some developers or learn it myself to build some racetracks, and
sure.
then people can bring in their DeLorean or Ecto or 007,
Yeah,
Aston Martin or whatever, and they
yeah,
can race, and then people can hang out together. And like the basic racetracks can be free, but
yeah.
then I would try my best to stay in the OUP program to get some lands, and then for the more advanced tracks, the more fun tracks, start charging tickets if people want to race. So that's been
Yeah.
on my mind for the past several weeks, pretty much. It's like, what are some opportunities for us to take advantage of in the Vivos?
Yeah, no, that sounds so fun. And the land part,
Yeah,
if we get some of these golden tickets for the OUP program, right? We'll be able to redeem them for land. And I don't know how that's going to work, like how it's going to look, but what we're going to be able to do with that land. So it's going to be really interesting, right? Because yeah, this is kind of the world they're creating to take we've been collecting all this stuff on VeVe, right? And playing the market and all that kind of stuff and interacting with stuff in AR and but we've been mostly just collecting, just acquiring, just looking
hmm
at our stuff. Now, like you take it into this, like you said, what Reese was saying, you take it into this VeVeVerse and you're able to get your own land aside from your home, like your vault or whatever, that you can decorate and play with. But if you get more land, you can be able to like do stuff on it. And the really creative people, yeah, with the developing knowledge and stuff like that, you might be able to create all sorts of opportunities. And so it's a place that people are going. Like this is the way the world is going, in my
yeah,
opinion. I mean, we're all going to be in the physical world still, of course, but it's fun. We're going in like gaming. I like how you mentioned gaming because gaming makes more per year than movies, music, TV and all that kind of stuff combined, like
yeah,
in terms of revenue. That's just gaming. That's right now. And this is not even like metaverse gaming. This is like or pay to earn. Pay to earn gaming is like so small right now. It's the future for sure. I mean, like, why would I mean, if you look at Fortnite, it's a beautiful,
yeah,
fantastic game that everybody loves. But when you want to own your skins, maybe sell them in the market or like get other ones. I mean, right now they own everything, right? And people said that about VeVe too, because it's all controlled, right? But it's different, right? Because we're on the blockchain. But like, Fortnite, you don't own anything, and I love the game, but like future of like pay to earn gaming where you actually own your assets. So if you're into VeVeVerse and you're able to create like a whole race system gaming and stuff
yeah.
like that, and you're able to do it at a really high level and bring in the NFTs that you can buy, and then bring in other NFTs from other platforms,
hmm
even just for decoration, right? Like,
Yeah,
this opens up a whole world of stuff. Like think about, the Bored Apes, right? And how there was that one Bored Ape person who created that like whole restaurant around their NFT, like Bored and Hungry. And if you see that
yeah,
burger joint,
yeah. I saw that.
like yeah, so like say you own a Bored Ape, but you're also in VeVe, you bring that in, you can create like a Bored Ape land in there, and you can have VeVe stuff in there. You can do all sorts of stuff. You can token gate it so people who are only other Bored Ape people can get it. I don't know, right? I'm just saying there's so many opportunities, right? And the branded lands, because you asked me, you mentioned that
Yeah,
I talked
branded
about branded
cities,
land.
right?
The branded cities now this is like something else. So if you have like we're all just trying to think about what this could mean, and I don't want to take it too far. Like I don't want to take it to like Ready Player One level, because that's like years off.
Yeah,
But in quarter two, we're gonna have branded lands like of this year. Like it's not like it's 3 years out. So I use Disney as an example, right? So like Disneyland in the VeVeVerse, like there'll be you'd think there'd be a place, right? Or could be they mentioned artists might have their own like land that you can go to their place, and you can't get in there unless you own their NFTs on VeVe, right? So think
hmm
about like a Disneyland sort of option where in like this VeVeVerse, you can go inside to the Disneyland area, and you can't get in there unless you own, I don't know, something, right? Maybe it's a partners. I don't know. That would be a little bit heavy to get you on, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Maybe it's a Disney logo. I don't know. And once you get in there, maybe there's drops in there. Maybe there's like entertainment in there because you have video footage and stuff. Maybe there's shows you can only watch in there. Disney Plus, right? Maybe you have to watch it in there. I don't know. And so the opportunities that are going to be there for these lands for us to go to, that will unlock by owning the NFTs, and then you'll be able to get stuff when you're there, like maybe drops, like I said, only happen there because it's all VeVeVerse. They can run a drop through there. This is the potential, right? And then of course you mentioned our own land, developing it ourselves and trying to create these experiences on our own. But these big companies that are working with VeVe, I mean, they're going to have their own place to do that too. So we're going to
Yeah.
see where this all develops, and then you'll have your own little home headquarters where we have all our stuff and we can all play around in our vaults. That to me is fun, but that's not the exciting thing about the VeVeVerse for me. For me, it's the lands that the people are going to be able to develop like yourself, but also like these big companies. Imagine like a Star Wars land in there.
Oh, wow.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Or like Star Trek, or like it opens up doorways for fandoms to come and hang out somewhere that are very specific to what they like to collect. Right now, we're all on the app, we're all together, all our stuff's in there. Unless you open up a Twitter space that's specific, or have a YouTube channel that's specific, or maybe have a Discord server that is like holding, like it's for like holders of a certain NFT, right? That's on VeVe. There's a Darth Vader Discord, right? For people like, but there could be a land just for Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
there's all sorts of interesting opportunities to like actually build the fandoms. So I think VeVe is really waiting, to promote this. And also the whole time in my head, like it's been pretty clear, we didn't know. They know all of this is coming. VeVe knows
Yeah.
they're the ones building it. They just haven't told us yet, like because they couldn't, right? Or whatever. They're waiting. This is not like they started building the VeVeVerse like this month when they did the announcement. They've been building this stuff for a while, and they know. I mean, when I was down at Decon, I was talking to VeVe staff, and they never told me what's coming or anything like that because it's all secret. But they know their drops for the next year and a half. I mean,
Yeah.
they might move stuff in and out, depending on dates and releases of movies and things like that. You know how the Miles Morales movie was supposed to come out in October, and now it's been bumped back to July. Well, I'm sure, we got the Miles Morales here in October, right, in VeVe. So they obviously had planned it for the movie release, but there could be other like, things like that get shifted. But they know their drops for the next year and a half. VeVe does. So they know everything that they're trying to build, and we're only getting a part of the info. So I think you really have to look ahead, and you really have to think where this could go. But I love that idea about the racing. That's why I bought a DeLorean the other day.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
for profit. I'm not buying these things for like I want to make that clear. I'm not, aside from Amazing Fantasy, because I really like it, and I think it's a really powerful comic for me personally, like, to sort of like invest in type deal. I do that in the physical world too. I stack certain things, right? But like the other stuff, like for the collectibles, I don't care what they're worth in the market. Like I don't care the DeLorean's $13. Now that the VeVeVerse come, I want to drive it. So
Yeah.
I'm not thinking certain things I buy in VeVe aren't like for investments. Some of it is just to experience what's coming.
Yeah. And right from the beginning, I always thought that, and I still think today that these brands will invest heavily into the metaverse, and especially in our case, the VeVeVerse, because brands like Disney and Star Wars, they always try to get closer to their fans, like to us, right? Because if I want to experience Disney, then I would need to go to California or Florida, for
No.
to go to, that is the only time that they can get my time, my attention, and my money.
Yeah.
So I have to be in a physical space for them to get me pretty much. But then
Yeah.
now, if they were to build a Disney branded city in the VeVeVerse, and 2 years from now, I can just put on a headset that is so well built that has like sensors and stuff. So that brings me into a very immersive experience.
Totally.
Then I can be in touch with Disney, and for you, if you're a Star Wars fan, you can be in the Star Wars experience like
Yeah.
all day, every day, like anytime you want. And yeah, like why would they not do it? So
Well, it's
I'm
true.
super excited.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Because somebody I was saying that about like for me to go to Disneyland, so I flew down to Decon right beside Disneyland, but that
Mhm.
was the first time I've ever been to Anaheim or even anywhere near. I didn't go in Disneyland because I didn't have time to go in there for the amount of money the ticket costs, because I was at the convention, right? And
Right.
so if I was going to go inside Disneyland for the first time ever, I want to be able to be there all day, right? Maybe for a couple days. So I would have been able to go in for 4 hours, right? I was like,
Mhm.
well, so like this is the reality for a lot of people. Like I'm up here in Canada. I mean, I can fly down to Disneyland. A lot of people do all the time, but I just haven't done that. It's not accessible for me. So like what you just said, if I want to experience Disney and Disney wants to get some of my hard-earned money and like, sell me stuff like digitally or whatever, even physical stuff in a store down there that they can then ship out to me. I mean, it's not just digital, right? Then yeah, this is what the VeVeVerse, like this is what branded lands is all about to me. You get to go there. So what you just said was like totally 100% agree. It's like makes
Yeah.
perfect, it just makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it sounds so obvious. It's just it's not even a debate. It just sounds obvious, right? Like, of
Yeah.
course, this is the way the world's going, right? And if you can get to Disneyland and have that physical experience, I'm sure that's going to be like 1,000 times better, because you're there and you get the smells and the sounds, ride the ride, like nothing's going to replace that. But not everybody can get there.
Right. And then in the digital space, you are not limited by physics, you know? So
Oh
they can
yeah.
build like your imagination is your limit. Like
Yeah.
I am originally from Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so like my friends who are living in Vietnam, they don't have that that opportunity to experience the real Disney that we have, that opportunity here in North America, right? So
Sure. Yeah.
if they can bring that to, well, if they can build that experience on the metaverse, and 2 years from now, Apple and Facebook Meta will probably improve their headsets quite a bit. So yeah, so it's I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
a pretty wild journey for the next few years.
Oh
And
yeah,
VeVe will be
definitely.
very like VeVe will be in the middle of it.
Yeah, exactly. I know, right? And it's not even like this is all coming this year, coming up. Like it's December the 7th, right? That we're talking today.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. So I
Q1, we're getting our enhanced, vault home, little island, right? Q2, branded lands are here. Now they're not going to be, like headset, like, like the whole, like, Ready Player One, but who knows what they're going to look like and how
yeah.
they're going to develop, right? And so, yeah, I mean, it's not far off, everybody. It's not as far as we thought. This is the funny thing. If you're at Decon, right? We actually saw it. We put the headset on. We walked around. The vault is made. Like the VeVeVerse is made. Like it's not. It's actually it's built. It's not coming. We just don't have
It's
access.
there already.
It's already there. They already built it. Now, I
Yeah.
mean, they're going to enhance it, and we're going to get access soon. But it's already built. So
Yeah.
that's the crazy part, right?
Yeah. I want to be respectful of your time. So
For
I know that
sure.
we have a few minutes left. So my last question for you is, do you have any advice for new users coming to VeVe, or, instead of advice, maybe something that you are most excited about for the future of VeVe?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if I was to give advice to anyone who came new, I would just say have patience, and really just look at what you actually like. When I talked about like how my plans changed, like at the first beginning, I didn't have a focus or a plan or anything like that. I would say, do that, right? Do a lot of research, get a focus, get a plan, and you can always fall back to just collecting stuff on here within your means that you actually enjoy. I mean, that makes it fun, right? Then there's not that stress of trying to like win on every drop or trying to like, flip and make profits. I mean, that's not what this app is supposed to be for. It's supposed to be collecting and now obviously taking our stuff in and experiencing, right? So, I mean, if you're somebody that was new to VeVe, I would say just come in here and just look at the stuff you really enjoy and just have patience. Don't FOMO into stuff because you watched a video on my channel or something where I was like, oh, this comic is amazing. Like just, like seriously, right? I always try to say that, and just like have some patience with it and have a plan. Like if you like comic books, just do the research on what works in this actual environment. Because VeVe is different. The marketplace in VeVe is not the same as like eBay You know, I can like Boba Fett's a really good example, right? Because, you know, my impression of Boba Fett, you know, is outside of VeVe because of how powerful the comic, so that the character is in the toy collecting world. But that's not VeVe. That's not this audience, right? And so I learned over time that, okay, VeVe's a different place, right? So if you come into this app with preconceived ideas about what's valuable, in the real world, it doesn't always translate into the VeVe marketplace, and that's fine because this is a different user base, different people have different priorities, right? So I just think patience is the key right here for sure, and having a focus is always kind of cool, right? Like, you know, if you like
Yeah.
Disney, then do Disney, right? And you can dabble in other stuff too, of course, you know. But I like my comics. You know, I like my Spider-Man. I like that. So that's where I'm going. You know, that's what I've been focusing on. But that's just me, right?
Yeah.
And I love my Star Wars too. And if they ever get sports, dude, they get the Lakers in here, I got to tell you, I'll be all in on that.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
My collectibles, I really appreciate you being on here today and, you know, sharing the knowledge, insight, and what I like the most about you is like when I watch some other channels and I hear all these like price predictions and like getting the false hopium, I just get so tired. But like when I watch your videos, I get joy and like your passion and your
Oh, thank you.
enthusiasm for collectings and, you know, Star Wars and comics. It's just awesome. You know, like I get really positive vibes from watching your videos, and I
Thanks.
like to thank you, like say thank you for that, for, you know, for all the work you do, because you work really hard to produce these videos for the community, and you know it's just awesome.
I appreciate you saying that, man. I love your channel too. I mean, look what we're doing. Look what we're talking about. We're talking about like Disneyland in the metaverse. It's fun, right? We should
Yeah,
all
yeah,
try to have a lot of fun. You know, even when there's bear markets, you can have a ton of fun. I mean, what are we actually doing here? We're just collecting, having fun. And I know there's money involved. So whenever that gets involved, it can get a little bit serious. But, you know, I'm trying to have as much fun as I can, you know? And if I lose a bit here on something I buy, but I enjoy it, that's okay too, right? You know, it's like to
yeah.
me, it's entertainment, you know, and I can only spend what I can afford. I try not to go too far and like get into debt, you know, or anything crazy like that. So I'm just trying to have a lot of fun and interviews and talking to you and me. We'll talk more too. I want to have you on my channel. And we'll see if if you want, right? And I like to get to know you more, man, because I've been just watching your channel and all your great interviews too. So you're killing it too, man. I love it.
Yeah,
Everybody
thank
make
you.
sure, I know everyone that's watching this is obviously subscribed, but make sure you're watching this because you can do some great interviews, man. I've learned a ton.
Yeah, thank you. I hope that you and your family will have a great Christmas and New Year, and I hope to have you on again next year where we can discuss more, you know. And
Oh,
I think it's gonna be great.
imagine an interview a year from now. What will we be talking about
Oh yeah, a
next
lot.
December?
Yeah,
Wow. No, thanks,
yeah.
man. I appreciate you.
All right. Have a good day, man.
Yeah.
All
Cheers.
right. That is it, you guys. I hope that you have enjoyed our interview today, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to give this video a like, check out the VeVe OMI holographic cards, and last but not least, don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss out on the actionable and valuable insights, everything VeVe and OMI related. Thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you again next time. Peace.